1850 715 815.
Hello, good afternoon, and you're very welcome to Liveline. Declan and Martin contacted us separately on joe@rte.ie. This is a mystery, and I don't know how we're going to solve it because it doesn't actually look that it is solvable. Declan, you begin. Tell us what happened. You live in Glasnevin in Dublin.
I live in Glasnevin in Dublin, that's right, Joe. I got a letter in the post yesterday looking for €76 in arrears, but that I could on the freehold for the property. Mm-hmm. The house is my own, mortgage is paid off, everything sorted, and they're demanding €1,117.
And do you own the freehold on your property?
Well, I don't know. I just presume I did after buying the house.
So this letter came out of the blue?
It came out of the blue. Nothing in 32 years. I've received no letter saying that I owe, be it €2 or €1 or any amount of money on the house.
And the letter, we won't give the address out at this stage. The letter is from a named company and an address in Dublin.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Miraculously, the phone number doesn't work. It goes straight to a voicemail, disabled.
But and again, don't give the name, but when they say if you want to buy out the freehold, I think in your case it's going to say it'll cost you €1,117.95. Who do you make the cheque payable to?
It says make it. Can I name the company?
No, not yet. Do you say make it payable to a named
make
company?
payable to a named company and an address.
Okay, Martin O'Rafferty. Martin, good afternoon.
Joe, how are you doing?
What did you get?
We got exactly the same letter, and 3 or 4 of my neighbours live right next door. All got the same letter, looking for the same amount of money.
Oh, the exact same amount?
The exact same amount. Now, I've done some investigation.
Good man.
I've been on to my solicitor, who's looking into it. I've also spoken in the last 10 minutes to the Property Registration Authority of Ireland.
Good lad.
And they're looking into it. And I've been in contact with some other neighbours who have who own their houses and who have what's called a vesting certificate. And the vesting certificate is basically proof that you own the land, that you own the freehold.
Okay.
So if you own the freehold and you get a letter saying, please give us €1,117 for the freehold, there has to be something up there, really. Okay.
And then we've been on to the address. We'll debate over the in terms of more information we get. We've been on to the address and the name of the company. And the name of the company is similar to the name, not exact same, but similar to the name and the letterheading that you got in your hall door. And they say, please note that no letters were issued from this office demanding ground rents. Okay? No letters were issued from this office demanding ground rents. But the bizarre thing is, the cheque, and by the way, they're saying quite they're a reputable company. They're saying quite clearly, we've nothing to do with this. But bizarrely, whoever's sending these letters, who are not obviously legitimate from that address, nothing to do with this company. Whoever's sending those letters is saying, we'll pay the cheque to this company anyway, which does exist at that address.
That sounds really very strange, Joe, doesn't it?
So is somebody trying to disrepute that company, I wonder? Because people, thankfully, people like yourself will contact people like us, Declan and Martin, separately and say, hang on a minute, what is this? It walks like a duck, it talks like a duck, but is it a duck?
Well, it doesn't sound like one. There's a lot of old people that live in the area. It's a very old, built in the 50s. It's an old settled community.
Yeah.
And basically the reason I contacted you was because you don't want any of your old neighbours who may be in fear of being put out of their property or whatever, getting a bill out of the blue and paying money when they don't need to pay money.
And did anyone, either Declan or Martin or anyone you know, call around to this address?
No, I haven't called around. But
I called to the address.
Okay. Who's that? Martin with the deep voice. Declan with the deep voice. Okay, Declan, what happened? Fair play to you, by the way. You called to the address.
Yeah, and this company doesn't exist there.
Is there a company of a
slightly different name, similar name, but not the same name?
So whoever is running this mystery tour at the minute is taking the name of the company, changing it slightly, taking the address of the company, which is a legitimate address in Dublin. But then the company tell us this new name, this variation on our name, has nothing to do with us. And we've never issued letters about ground rent. But then when you go in to the actual form that was sent out, obviously not from the legitimate company, but the form that was sent out abusing their name, it tells you to send the cheque to that same address where this illegitimate company doesn't exist. So where is the follow the money, as Woodward and Bernstein used to say in Watergate? But where is the money going?
That's the mystery.
All these letters, Joe, these letters were sent out and delivered on post. So it wasn't just a blanket mailing in a certain area.
Okay.
They all came through the post service. And I spoke to the postman, and he was delivering. He still had another big pile of them to deliver.
Oh, had he? Okay.
All around the area.
So was it a fishing exercise? But I want to know where does the money go? It doesn't go to this legitimate company at that address, obviously, because they never issued the letter. But it does say on the covering letter, make your cheque payable to the same address and the bogus name. Now,
that's what it says, yeah.
Well, it would be great. It would be really helpful if the company that's registered at that address and based at that address, they're a reputable legal company. If one of them will come on and tell us if they have got any of these bogus letters back, or worse still. And I know what they do with the checks. If they got them, they tear them up. But has anyone, especially I take your point about older people who see bills and they see ground rent, brings you back to Lord Lucan and lunacy of ground rent, that they would panic and send in a cheque. But where is the cheque going except the bin?
Well, I found the number and I was pretending to pay. I said, I want to get in this letter and I want to pay. And I was told by the lady who answered, oh, yeah, hold on, I'll transfer you. I don't work for them. And she was putting me on hold to transfer me to someone else, basically to take my credit card details if I wanted to pay the bill. So at that stage, I just hung up. And who
looked for your credit card details?
Well, it does say on the letter, you phone the number if you want to pay by credit card or debit card. Now, I phoned the number and I was told, hold the line, I'll just transfer you now. I don't work for them. And at that stage then, I hung up.
But they didn't ask for...
No, it didn't ask for financial details or anything, no. Yeah.
Because I thought maybe that's where the collection point is. If people ring up, instead of sending a cheque, which most people don't have these days, they ring up and say, can I pay you by credit card? You ring this number and they say, give us your credit card details, so they've got your money. That could be the element, the mystery solved. Any idea where they were, where that number was? I know it's a Dublin number, but did you get any sense of where you to whom and where you were talking? No.
For the actual company, Joe, the actual company that worked there, the phone number that's on the letters is one digit out. The last digit is changed by one. None of the letters are signed.
Well spotted, by the way.
It's a photocopy signature at the bottom.
Yeah.
Just with the name of the company, not with the signature from an individual.
Okay, so we're asking people, have you got a letter recently looking for ground rent? There seems to be a common figure. If you want to buy out the freehold, it's 1,117 and 95 cents. Has a letter of that come into your? Maybe we can get to the bottom of it. But just to be clear, that the company based at that address have categorically told us that no letters were issued from this office demanding ground rents. And then when you look at the number, which Martin, with his eagle eye, has spotted, fair play, you see that the number that you're asked to ring if you have any queries, and people would have queries, but the number that you're asked to ring is one digit out from the actual number of the legitimate company. Wow. and it not only it's not one digit, it's one sequential number out. In other words, instead of, for argument's sake, 543 finishing, it finishes on 544. Now, how can we get to the bottom of this? I don't know. But I say the company based, and as I say, one of the lads there went around, and there's with his information, the company told him, no, there's nothing to do with us, but that this number is the key. This new number the phone number is the only difference that we can find between their addresses, their contact details. So if we ring this number, would we get to the bottom of it? Or if anyone's phoned the number.
It says the voicemail is disabled now.
Okay, don't throw it in the bin. Don't pay it under any circumstances, but don't throw it in the bin, because we're trying to piece together. And is there any indication, we've had this before, Declan and Martin, Joe at rt.ie, 51551 is our text number. Is there any indication that there's a mistake, that there's an English mistake on the man? Do you follow me? Sometimes
there's some grammatical errors in the letter.
Okay.
But nothing serious. But
nothing dramatic.
No, nothing dramatic.
Yeah.
You know, if I was writing it, I wouldn't have wrote it with the terms that were listed. You know what I mean? But I'm under serious pressure here, Joe.
Okay, go.
Thanks very much.
Go, Deck, fair play. Vinny, okay. Vincent, we're talking about these letters that are dropping in the door. It seems to be around Glasnevin and Dublin from a named company and a variation on the name. In other words, the surname of the company, but the type of service it's offering changes. Is changed slightly. The address is the same, and it's looking for a certain amount of money to allow you to buy out your ground rent, which people didn't realise they owed. Vinny, good afternoon, Vincent.
Joe, how are you doing?
Good. What have you spotted?
Joe, we signed for our house 37 years ago on the 10th of August. We have our house here, and when we bought no ground rent.
Okay.
And at the time it was advertised like that there was no ground rent. So
yeah.
It was not eating at the time, but it was it was in vogue then, if you know what I mean. But we hadn't heard it for 37 years, and then we get this bill for 1,076. So we would be defaming anyone. It's very suspect, you know, and I know you have legal implications there. We can't say that, but I'm guessing that it's preying on vulnerable and older people, you know.
Yeah, and would that be, insofar as you can ever judge in an area, would that area where you're living, Vinny, would it have an older demographic? Is it well settled, as they say?
Yeah, and it's probably younger, but I did try to knock to my neighbour next door to see if they'd got a letter similar, because very suspect. And like our previous caller said, if someone was very anxious about, oh God, you know, I'm going to lose my house, or I'm putting out my house, or whatever, that they pay it straight away. I think it's just another one of these kind of phishing things that will catch a number of people. And if they send out 1,000 letters, and or whatever number of letters, 500.
Oh no! If you only get one or two,
or whatever.
Yeah.
But then, you know.
You see, I'm trying to find in the overall letter, which is a legitimate letter from the same address as this legitimate company. I'm trying to find out, because it's a long letter, if there's any mistakes. Because if you remember, we did it here on the programme about 8 months ago. Lindsay Clark and Keith Flynn, two solicitors who were basically setting up dummy accounts. They robbed over €400,000 and they got a slap on the wrist. But Lindsay Clark was sent to prison for a fair amount of time, but she's out now after a few months. And Keith Flynn, I think, is still in, or he's been moved to an open prison or whatever. But how they were caught by an eagle-eyed member of the Bank of Ireland, how they were caught was he spotted a common spelling mistake through all the different companies. Remember, this crew here, Clark and Flynn, were robbing or buying the identities of homeless people and opening accounts. But he spotted that the letter of application for the loans which they got and effect off with, pardon my English, had the same spelling mistake. And that's how which was a brilliant bit of detective work. And I'm just trying to see, is there spelling mistakes or spelling issues in these letters that might give us an indication. Jenny, good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Who got the letter?
My dad got the letter. Now, my dad is he's quite elderly, so my brother actually opened it and he rang me. And I said, don't say it to Dad. You know, I wanted to kind of check the company out.
Okay.
So I Googled the company. I rang the number that was on the website.
Well done.
And they were quite helpful. They were quite responsive and stuff like that. So it turns out that my dad, he actually bought out the freehold on his house in '86. So, but they were telling me all about vesting certificates, and if he has one of them, just to forward it on, and they'll take them off the books and stuff like that. And so I thought it was legitimate. You know, I didn't kind of smell any rats or anything. But he told me on the phone that 900 people in Drimna received that letter that morning.
Okay.
So, but the way it was worded, that's what kind of got me. It didn't talk about the land; it was talking about the property.
You see, so as you say, Jenny, when you look up the website that they give you, which again is very similar to the name of the legitimate website, it's an impressive looking website. And the first thing you noticed, by the way, again, eagle-eyed Martin spotted it, that the phone number, if you have any further questions, is one sequential digit out. But then it goes into, you get a straightforward form about how you paid them by credit card. And the email for receipt and all this carry on. And then, as I say, but that is not, because we have a letter from the legitimate company and their website is different by one word. Same surname, but different by one word to this bogus website.
Yeah, I think it's bizarre because I didn't have the letter. So my brother just kind of gave me the bare bones.
No, don't hand over a penny now. I know you won't.
Yeah, I know you won't. So I kind of said that, you know, it's a lot of money as well. It's a big enough figure. He was telling me it's only a nominal little fee. And then when he told me what it was, I kind of just said, to a pensioner, that's not nominal. That's a lot of money, you know.
I'm sure it's over €1,000. John Quinn. Yeah. John Quinn is in Drimna.
Yeah, Joe. I received the same letter too. My father actually received it yesterday, and he's 82. And I was coming out to the house to visit him today, and he showed me the letter. I was quite surprised. It's a very professional-looking letter, and but it doesn't mention his name on the top of the letter. It just says the owner, and it says that he owes quite nearly €1,000 on this kind of land, you know.
Which he doesn't.
No. And
what was the reaction when he got the letter?
Yeah, he was a bit nervous. He was quite surprised. Yeah. And I decided to ring the number, and the number rang out. So it was like someone hung up the phone on me when I was ringing, you know.
Yes, because I would. You're probably younger than me, but the ground rent used to strike fear into the heart of people. Don't ask me what. It goes back to antediluvian times, and Lord Luke owned half the country, and people were paying ground rent to him every year. Don't ask me why. And then he disappeared, and people wondered, do we still have to pay him the ground rent? The man is gone.
Because my father has the house paid off, years ago, and I never heard of ground rent before, really. Yeah.
You see, I think this company, and hopefully they will before 3 o'clock, I think this legitimate company, and I think we've established that the company based at this address, which you're all referring to, is a legitimate company. But the letter is not legitimate because they said, we've never sent out a letter about ground rent. So that's circle complete. Jerry, good afternoon, Jerry.
Afternoon, Joe.
Good. Where are you, Jerry?
I'm in Drimna, Joe.
Okay, and who got the letter?
I got the letter on Monday.
Okay.
Which sort of scared me slightly because we purchased the house in 1979.
All right.
So, and we cleared the ground rent at the time because you had an option to pay on a quarterly basis or purchase it completely.
Okay, and so either way, you don't own ground.
No, not at all. And the thing that amazed me about this letter that came, and I'm sure your other callers had it had an account number.
That's right, yeah.
Which seems very weird. And the amount that I'm being asked for is less than what your other callers have.
Okay. Now, the letter I have doesn't give me, it says telephone. This is the telephone number they give. That's the one people are ringing. We accept bank
credit card details.
Okay, check made payable to a named company, very similar to the name of the legitimate company that's at the address. The website, again, very similar to but different. And the website immediately, when you go onto the website, is they offer you a way to pay them immediately.
Well, and this what was on this letter that I had also a freehold purchase option.
Oh yeah, that's on this one as well.
Is it? Yeah.
Arrears 76. Title search and admin 184, purchase price 857, total.
Mine was 728, so it was total of 97757.
Okay, so they're just making up these numbers.
Yeah,
whoever's sending out these letters.
But I asked a neighbour of mine, and I asked him did he get it, and he said he didn't. But I said keep your eye out for it because no letter comes in, I don't think, to the owner.
Okay.
I was more concerned about this. No, their client, who they state their client is where under data protection where would they get all that information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I take your point. And then they do give a reference to a legitimate state registration authority. It gets more and more bizarre. Angela O'Mahony. Angela.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
And who got the letter?
My mum got it. She's 82 years of age, and she got a letter the other day, the same thing. Now, she's quite smart and aware of scams, etc., etc. But she phoned the number, she got through to somebody, and she said she was eventually put through to a young man. She said very helpful, and she said she had her certificate of purchase, and he asked her for the certificate number, and he said he would take it out of the system, so to speak. So in other words, she wouldn't have to pay the bill. So I don't know who she actually phoned, only that she phoned the number on the letter. But my worry is that she gave them the certificate number, so do they have any access to other information that, might compromise her security in the future?
And she was saying, I don't owe ground rent.
No, that would have been paid years and years ago.
I'd say, well, you can't predict, but I'd say if she rang the number on this bogus letter, which she got, she rang a different number to the legitimate company. And I'd say the minute your man heard, or whoever heard your mother competently say, I don't owe any ground rent, he knew he wasn't going to tap any money there.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But when she did tell me about it, I did think it was very suspect how it was going. But she had already made the calls herself anyway.
So. Suspect was sophisticated as well. Like if you look at their website that they've set up, and now they're those letters looking at our switchboard here have been going out like confetti. Angela Mahoney, Jerry, John Quinn. More after this break. Joe at RTE.ie. 51551 is our text number.
Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815. Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815.
This is a difficult one to explain, mainly because they are mimicking the people who are sending out these ground rent demands for over €1,000. Are very closely mimicking the name of a legitimate company at the same address. In Dublin, but the legitimate company have sent us a short note saying, please note that no letters were issued from this office demanding ground rent. But they demand the ground rent. They ask you to go to a website which is very similar in name to the legitimate company. That's what they do. The phone number is very similar by one sequential digit to the other company, and it looks like the letters are coming through the letter boxes like confetti at a wedding. Noel, good afternoon.
Yeah, hello, Joe. Good afternoon.
You say this has happened before?
Joe, actually, I was quite surprised when I was just having a bite there, and I heard this topic coming up on your show. I love your show, by the way. Thank you. Thanks. It's great. No, this I have a file as such going back to March of 2015. Now, talking to your researcher, I do know that the name of the company that is on my letters is the same, one and the same company, so we leave it at that. But just to say to you that, just to give a bit of security, perhaps to more elderly people, that this is not if it is not kosher, it's nothing new. I mean, I talked to a solicitor about this 3, 4, 5 years ago, and he just said, look, just forget about it, he said, And now I'm in the fortunate position that I do have a vesting certificate. I actually have it in my possession, so I have that additional security. But I'd also talked to, let's say, a few neighbours over the years, and they might be sort of more elderly, and they'd be worried, God, what do I do here? I wonder, well, their husband might have died, and they'd be kind of up to 90, worrying about it. And so really part of the reason I'm ringing you is to say to them, look, please try not worry about it, because, and also because it's addressed to the owner. Now, for example, we have a letter here from our local residents association, and it's actually dated March 2016, would you believe? And it sets out the position very clearly, and in a nutshell, it says, just ignore it.
And there's ground rent. Remember ACRA? The Association for Combined Residence Associations. I don't know if they still exist. But wasn't there a big campaign to abolish ground rent?
Oh, yeah, true.
And was it not abolished?
But I think, though, Joe, many people like myself, many years ago, we bought out our ground rent, and at the time it was very little to do so. But you see, I think what's happening now is that this is an opportunity for, we'll say, this particular company maybe to get in some money, Now, just as a matter of interest, when my first letter dated 18th March 2015, total due was 774, right? 774.74 euro.
Yeah, that's
As of 5th of July 2021, my latest letter in the door, it's gone up to 1,783.86.
So it's going up.
So there's inflation for you, Joe.
And you see, the legitimate company that is referred to, the legitimate state body that's referred to on this is the PRAI, the Property Registration Authority of Ireland, and that is obviously a company. But when you go in there, which I did before the program, and you Google what is ground rent, they begin by telling you there's no definition of ground rent.
Yeah.
Nowhere is the term ground rent defined. It is. It is again. Anyway,
effectively, I mean, the vesting certificate effectively confers a freehold. You own your property freehold, so there's no landlord who who has a claim on it in any shape or form.
And but we presuming. Okay, the company in space at that address is legitimate, but presuming this company that has a slightly different name, slightly different phone number, slightly different website, but say they are based at that address, even though a number of our callers called around and said, no, there's no company of that name based at this address. But even if what they believe they're doing is legitimate, where are they getting the information from?
No, I don't
know. No, these are all rhetorical questions I'm throwing out.
Look, I tell you, from my point of view, Joe, and the bottom line here is that there's no point in going into details on different addresses and all the rest of it. What I'm saying is that I tell you the final paragraph on this letter said, look, okay, this is any letter addressed to the owner has no legal or contractual standing. Residents should not feel under any pressure to contact or provide any specific information to blank. That's the name of the company. That would assist them in completing their records. The fact that you may be receiving letters from blank does not mean that you owe them money. Okay. So that's a nice way of saying, look, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Well, where do we hear of ground rent? Where most people, isn't it Guinness's that they Guinness is that they didn't they buy out the ground rent for 700 years or something?
Yeah.
Okay, is Jerry there? Jerry, good afternoon. No, Jerry's gone. Okay. The plot thickens, or
okay, Joe,
as people call me, the thick plottings. Because I can't get to the bottom of this, and I'm still waiting for permission to name the legitimate company who are not doing a scintilla wrong. In fact, they're being very helpful to us because they just sent us an email saying, please note that no letters were issued from this office demanding ground rent. Stay safe, Noel. Good afternoon. Joe at RT.
Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815. Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815.
We are trying to get to the bottom of what looks now like a slew of letters arriving in different homes saying, do you wish to buy out your ground rent? And here are and become a freeholder, so to speak. And the freehold purchase option, there's arrears, of course. There's a search and admin fee. Where would you be without it? And then there's a purchase price. And the figures that are being requested of individuals, householders, range from 800 quid to 1,200 quid, ballpark. And then it gives you ways of paying it. You can go onto their website, or you can send and ring and phone number, give them credit card details. Now, Paul Dunn. Paul.
How's it going, Joe? How are you?
Did you get one of these letters?
Yeah, we received one there on Monday through the post, from a company saying that we had to pay arrears of 64.74. I think the gentleman that was on previously there from Drimnagh, he quoted the same figure that to purchase it as us. So we went on to the land registry and asked them about it, and the figure they quoted us was nearly half of what this company on the letter said that we owed them. So when I done the homework first and then rang the company, and when I was talking to the chap, he gave me a purchase price, and then I told him that the land registry told me the price was different, and straight away he halved the price of what it was to purchase it.
Okay. So but did the legitimate land registry say, like, if you want to, if your house is leasehold, I presume, and you want it to be freehold?
Yeah.
Your temp. They're saying to buy out the ground rent, you paid them what, 60, 70 quid?
Yeah, it was a little bit more than that. They have it set at 64.07.
Okay, but you make it payable to them.
Yeah.
And they give you a vesting certificate to say you are the total, complete and absolute legitimate owner of not just your house, but the 42 square metres
garden to the back garden,
to the courtledge. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And when you rang this number,
yeah,
and the gentleman, did he give you any indication of where he might be or be from?
No, he just went through about that. He told me that they only took over this before only recently, that they only acquired it from another company. Now, he never named the other company that he acquired it from.
But
and
they're saying they own the freehold. They own the leasehold. And if you want to become freehold, you pay them. But where's the evidence that they own the leasehold?
Yeah, he said that there was a 999-year lease on it.
Yeah, like Guinness's, yeah.
Yeah.
And what, the 900, they're saying you can buy it out now, so in 865 years you won't have to pay it.
Yeah, 2,846 to be precise.
Okay, which is not what the land registry told you. Okay.
No, and he said he could do it. He could have it done and the paperwork back to me within 21 days, and the land registry would take 8 months.
Okay, well then maybe so we're keen to talk to this person. Okay, keen to talk to this person. Okay, Paul Dunn, John Fennell. John, you worked in the Property Registration Authority for 23 years, and you know where ground rents came from.
Yeah, it basically came about like going back years ago. Builders, when they built houses, they didn't sell property freehold to people. It was a deed of lease that they drew up.
Why?
Because it was more money in the builder's pocket then. Because if you built, say, 1,000 houses, and each house was subject to a yearly rent of £10, say, that was an extra £10 in the builder's pocket for every house, like.
In perpetuity?
Until they bought out the freehold, but as long as the term of the years lasted, and then if the lease expired, you were in big trouble because it could cost you an awful lot of money to buy out the freehold when the lease expired.
And does it still exist, John?
No, in 1978 they brought in an act, I think it was the Ground Rent Number 2 Act of 78, whereby you couldn't create a leasehold interest on a new dwelling house.
Excellent.
Yeah, so on around the date, I think it would have been the 1st of May 78 or the 1st of August, a dwelling house, not an apartment, they're all leasehold, all the apartments are leasehold. A dwelling house had to be sold to a person freehold after that date.
Okay. Now
in the meantime, if a person had a leasehold property, I don't think solicitors ever advise people what they're actually buying, but basically the property was demised, you say, for 150 years at a rent of whatever, and that's what the rent you paid. Now, if you wanted to buy out your freehold, you had to kind of know who the landlord was.
Yeah.
So the ground rent section was set up to help ordinary Joe Soaps, the public, to buy their freehold.
Okay, now...
So basically, you had to know who the landlord was. There's two methods you could go by. There was a consent procedure and an arbitration procedure. So basically, you could go over, if you knew who the landlord was, you could go to him and ask him a price. Now, if there was only one landlord and you had his consent, you're okay. But if there's two landlords and only one consent was forthcoming, you had to go by arbitration. Now, either way, you could do it in ground rents. You could go by arbitration anyway without going near the landlord. And what would happen is ground rent section would set a price and they'd hold the money that was paid over to the land registry, and then the landlord would have to claim that back. He'd have to prove title to the freehold to get the money back.
Okay. So why was it abolished?
It was never actually abolished. They could never abolish it. It went through the Dáil, I think, a few times. It was never abolished because I think it was something they were saying something, you can't deprive somebody the right or something to have freehold. You know, you can't. Like, so you can imagine back in the old days, builders were building houses instead of just selling the property to Joe Duffy, your property freehold. They decided, no, we lease the property to you for 200 years at a rent of £10 per annum. And that was done like thousands of times over for every house.
Yeah, good point.
The builder had a £10 interest every year coming into his pocket from the houses that he built.
And the houses that someone bought.
Pardon? Yeah, the houses that someone bought.
Yeah, just presume when you're
from a woman in the bank, and she owned it her lease. She didn't understand it, and her property was leasehold. And when I asked her, she said, I want to buy out my freehold. I said, who's the landlord? And she said, I am. And I said, well, then you don't need if you're the landlord. But then I had to explain to her, no, you own a property. Your property is leasehold. Your property is subject to a lease status, whatever, between AB, the landlord, and you.
And how did, for example, John Bingham, the 7th Earl of Luke, and the scoundrel that disappeared after murdering the nanny, how did he own so many ground rents in Ireland?
I'm not sure how he actually acquired them. He probably just owned all the land. Like, he owned all that land, and then when the houses were built on the land, they weren't sold freehold to the people. They were leased to them. You see, if you get a property freehold, it's called a deed of conveyance.
Okay.
Now, if you buy a property leasehold, it's a deed of assignment. So basically, the landlord he'd own all the land, all the fields, the property. That'd be the freehold. He'd own all the freehold.
Yeah, but I've just bought the land that my house is built on, surely.
Yeah, but you only bought a leasehold interest in it, on his land.
And what happens if I don't pay it?
Well, if you don't pay it, the thing was, a lot of people didn't pay it. And then even if you went through ground rent section then to buy it out, the most we could demand was a maximum of 6 years rent in arrears. So there's no danger. But a lot of people didn't know this, and solicitors didn't really tell them or advise them,
And is the Lord Lucan estate still collecting ground rents?
I'm sure they probably could be, yeah. I'm not sure. Sometimes they just stop and no one ever called around for the rent, and then people just discover it like they had a leasehold. And see, apparently it's a big danger, you see, Joe, if you have a leasehold property and the lease expires. Because if you had a property, say you bought it in 1921 for 100 years, that means the lease will be up very soon, right?
Yeah.
So when the lease expires, you could pay up to an eighth of the market value of the property to buy it out, because no bank would give you a loan on the property because the lease expired. You couldn't remortgage the property because the lease you have no deed, the lease has expired, that was the danger, that.
And remember, this is what this letter is saying, if you buy out the leasehold, this will give you freehold, and the advantages are several banks. This I'm quoting. This is an illegitimate letter. Now, please don't come in for. I don't want people reading this as, oh my God. Several banks of finance may request the property as freehold to obtain a mortgage. Currently, building work cannot be carried out on the property. Freehold property removes any restrictions contained in your lease. No further ground rent payments. A freehold property is more attractive for a potential purchaser. So you can see how they're persuading people to pay up.
Yeah. It's basically like some landlords did offer people, like before, going back, I remember a while back, and they were looking for a large amount of money, much more than they could legally. They were saying, I'll sell you the property ground off for $6,000 or something, like that. Mm-hmm. And then people just inquired in the land registry, and they realised like that rent might have been only £10 per annum, and that and if they hadn't paid the rent in years, we'd only demand a maximum of 6 years could only be demanded. Anything else was statute barred. Like so, even if you hadn't paid the ground rent for 25 years, 6 years was what we would require. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, as I say, it's a mystery.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get to the bottom of it. And again, the people know.
Leasehold, it can't happen now. All the apartments now in Dublin, they're all leasehold.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
They're all subject to a rent and management companies' fees and all for. So the landlord owns all the common areas in the apartment, like all the ground that the properties sit on, the stairwells, everything,
So you're saying, could somebody, John, buy up the leaseholds without the house owners knowing?
Buy up the freehold, you mean?
The freehold, sorry, yes.
Well, they could really, if they went through ground rents. Well, sometimes, I said there's two procedures, consent and arbitration. Now, the landlord, if he consented to buying out, there was a certain form you filled in, and we got the money from the person, and then the landlord could claim the money. But then if there was another procedure by arbitration, where there was more than one landlord, and you couldn't get all the consents, or else the landlord was looking for an inordinate amount of money, they could go over the landlord's head through an arbitration process. So we'd fix the price again. Eventually, when they pay us the money, there's loads of money apparently in the land registry at the moment, unclaimed. Loads of money that was handed over for freehold.
Ah, okay.
Because we look then for the landlord to prove title to the freehold.
But I'm thinking, did this company, which has a very similar name to the company that is registered at that address, even though that company say they're not issuing ground rent letters, but could that company legitimately have bought, given that it's so arcane and obscure it seems, but could they have legitimately bought from?
Bought a freehold from somebody else. They could have, I suppose, yes.
Well, Lord Lucan's estate owns so many thousand of them. Could I go to Lord Lucan's estate and say, can I buy?
I suppose you could, yeah.
I'll give you money. Yeah, well then.
Could tell you a freehold interest, in a certain amount. Yeah, you could. Yeah, people buy up freehold portfolios, like.
Well, then maybe that's what's happened.
It could happen, yeah. It could happen, but they're better off going through the ground rent section, like if they want to acquire their freehold. It's the best way to do it.
Yeah, okay.
They'd give you a vesting certificate. The end result from ground rent section would be a vesting certificate.
Okay.
And when you had that, you had the option. You could register then, like hundreds of thousands of properties are registered. And when you're registered, you get a freehold folio. So you'd never need proof of your deeds. The land registry gives a state guaranteed title and ownership. So if you own your property, the land registry keep your deeds, and you get a folio with an F on it.
Yeah, number. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and that means that all you ever have to do, if you're going to a bank to remortgage or you're selling on, you only have to tell on the number, that's basically. And
it says, we wish to inform you our client is a registered freehold. This is the opening letter. Registered freehold owner of the property. That has every chance of being legitimate.
It could be, yeah. It could be. You have to be checked out, yeah. It could be legitimate, yeah.
But surely they'd explain to people,
Just because a number that is kind of the way it's going, but the phone calls and not.
They say our client. They give a two-letter acronym for the name of the client. It doesn't.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, Joe, if they're the legitimate owner, and if people give the money, what are they giving the person back in return then? If they hand over the money, ground rents give you a vesting certificate, and which you can register. It's the title
But
deeds.
did they not say, in fairness, did they not say to one of our callers, we can give you the vesting certificate much quicker than the...
They should, yeah, what are they going to give to the people, like, for the money? That's the question, like, if they're asking for people to pay it out, that they're like, what are they giving them in return then?
Because you're saying...
How are you going to prove it, like, say you hand over the money, like, how are you going to prove it then to the bank? You said, well, I paid, some firm rang me up and I paid the money to them, like, the bank won't accept that, like,
And would this company send me a vesting certificate?
Some deed or some acknowledgement, that has to, because otherwise, like...
Well, that's why in one sense I'm now looking for somebody, and I'm looking for the company, and we have been, but I'm now looking for somebody who did pay over to this letter, and did they get a vesting certificate?
That's right.
Isn't that what we're looking for, John?
I don't think... See, the only people that issued the vesting certificates are the ground rent section, like, that's all.
As I said, it's a mystery, and we're trying to get to the bottom of the mystery.
I don't think a landlord could issue he couldn't issue a vesting certificate. The only thing is he could give the person an acknowledgement for ground rent section that I, AB landlord owner, I now hereby confirm that AB has bought out the freehold from myself, that kind of thing.
Okay. John, you're mine of information. Thanks a million.
No problem. Okay, Joe.
I reserve the right to refer back to you, John, because it's getting more and more mysterious. But as I say,
it's just that they built houses, like, and they never sold them to the people. Like, they leased them. People thought they were buying a property, but it wasn't. It was.
And I presume people, when they discovered this, objected to it.
They did, in a way, yeah, because they realised that they'd bought the house and you had to discharge on it every year, and, like, this money to pay, and they thought, the solicitor didn't say to them, you're buying a leasehold interest, so you're buying this property, like, to hold for a term of 150 years from whatever date, and, that a lease can expire. And I think I remember a case in Sallynoggin where a guy had 2 properties, and he applied to buy out the ground rent, and both leases had expired.
So he would have been hit with a big bill.
I think he had to pay something like nearly an eighth of the market value of each property to buy it out.
Okay.
The danger is, Joe, when the lease expires.
Okay, John, if you can, stay with us, because more people want to come in. It's easily answered.
Well, it is, yeah.
We have found the number. We have found the number on this letter.
Right.
We've tried to contact them on numerous occasions since we got the detail. We've emailed them and everything, and we still. It's just easily and simply solved by saying that the mystery is as follows: we bought.
Yes.
A client of ours bought the freehold.
Yes.
Of some company that had it happens all the time, doesn't it?
They'd have to prove title to that. What deed? See, everything you buy, Joe, everything you buy is by a deed, Yeah. So when you
Okay, John, stay on the line, please. John on line 3 is staying on board for this to help solve this mystery, but can easily be solved if the company that we've contacted, the other company. We've contacted a company based at that address, and they say no letters were issued from this office demanding ground rent. But could anyway? Joe at rte.ie.
Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815. Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815.
We're trying to get to try and solve a mystery. Margaret, good afternoon. Did you get a letter, Margaret?
Yes, I did.
And when did you?
I have one of these very elusive vesting certificates that you were speaking to.
Oh, you have one. So that means you're John Fennell. That means she's in the clear, doesn't it?
It's freehold. Yeah, she owns. If she has a vesting certificate, she owns her freehold.
It's a land registry.
That's right.
Landlord ground rent number 2 Act 1978.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, well done.
And the number is 16.
Oh yeah, don't give me the full. Yeah, okay.
You own the freehold. That's it.
You own the freehold, Margaret. You're free. You're not going to. Mountjoy.
I won't have to worry.
You're not going to Mountjoy this time.
No.
That's great.
Okay. Just tell me something, Mark. Did you get a fright when you got the letter?
I did, of course.
Yeah. Well, you see, that's not fair.
And I said, of course I did. And I said to my daughter that I had the deeds of the house here, in the house, which was sort of unusual. Most people, they're lost with a solicitor or something. And that I thought I had all that stuff. And I had a vague remembrance of going down to some place down, like at the fruit market, down in there, to register the deeds. And I couldn't remember when. But anyway, obviously I'm okay.
Okay, Margaret.
But I can tell you, these houses were built in 44, around that 40s, in the 40s. And they were built by Associated Properties.
Okay.
And initially, you couldn't buy them. They were to rent only.
Okay.
And when we got it, we rented for a long time. And the land they were built on, and Mrs. Ellis owns this land all around here. It's around the Dodder runs through it somewhere.
And where's that? Does that person?
It's all in Glasnevin.
Okay, but you paid your ground rent. You're free. You're a home board.
Yes,
you're free.
I'm free.
You're free.
Yeah.
And do you remember where you paid the ground rent? Where did you go?
That's what I'm saying. I went somewhere in Smithfield, there somewhere. But I can't remember
was that where you were based, John, around Smithfield?
No, I was actually in Chancery Street at the time.
Yeah, well, that would be. It's
near enough. They moved to different places.
At the end of Mary Street and somewhere after that.
Okay.
I think there were 4 different places over the years, 4 different locations.
And have you ever been in prison, Margaret? Yeah, you've never been in trouble in your life, so you got a fright. Not yet. Well, mind yourself, will you? Okay.
These houses, all of the houses here in Glasnevin, they were built on Mrs. Ellis's land, and my husband, who is dead now, but he grew up on Old Ballymun Road. And he played on this land. It was farmland when he was growing up.
But you have a vested certificate, Margaret, so you're completely in the clear. How have you managed
legal stuff away?
Oh God, I know people get such a fright when they say. And Margaret, how have you managed during the pandemic?
I'm very lucky. I have my daughter and granddaughter are staying with me. They've
brilliant.
moved in
Well
with
done.
me.
Well done. 3 generations.
I didn't have to go out. Yes, 3 generations here now.
Well, stay safe, Margaret, and try and stay out of trouble, will you? Please.
I'll do my best.
Do your best.
I'll do my best.
Where's
I enjoy listening to you, Joe.
Oh, you're very kind.
With everybody in trouble, but we still get a laugh.
And I love listening to people like you, Margaret. Thank you so much. You make the programme. Davy, good afternoon.
Hello, how are you, Joe?
You got letters.
Well, everyone in our cul-de-sac got these letters starting. We didn't get them now, but starting on Monday.
Okay.
And people were getting the price, and the WhatsApp was blowing up and all that. Now, me and my wife, we bought her about 5 years ago, so all boxes were ticked. There was kind of some more stringent rules came in about showing that you owe the place. So, and a few of the neighbours will be the same way. But even some people who actually own the freehold were still getting these letters saying, "Oh, you have to give us this money."
Yeah. Okay.
So, and there's people here who've been living on this road, bought their houses longer ago than I was born. I'm tipping 40 myself. But they were kind of going, what do I have to do with this? But the thing everyone kind of settled on fairly quick was don't even engage with this company.
Okay.
And go to the PRAI.
Well, until we find out, we're trying to find out who and what and where. We're asking them to come on and explain the mystery, solve the mystery. And
yeah, well, I have some clues, Joe, as well, because I went on the CRO website yesterday.
Good lad.
And
don't name any names.
No. But there's the 2 company names on these letters, and they both have the same director with the same name.
Okay, well, that's another element to the mystery.
Now, this director with the same name, the name matches somebody who works for the same solicitor's office at the same address.
Okay.
The same people who deny all knowledge, and as you would, I suppose.
Well, no, you can't say that. Also, they do. It's clear. It's not as you would. They've clearly said no letters were issued from this office demanding ground rent. You can't get clearer than that. Okay, Davy, thanks indeed. That's Davy. Kevin Hawke, formerly of this parish. Kevin, good afternoon.
How are you doing? Are you well?
Good. You pay ground rent?
I do. Every 6 months I pay the large sum.
Yes.
Wait for it. €5.08.
My God. And when did you discover?
I'm on mincemeat that week, I can tell you.
and Kevin, who do you pay it to?
I pay it to ground rent assurances, but they won't take a phone call. You have to write to them if you have any queries. Okay. Now, what really annoyed me, Joe, was when I was living here about 3 years and I got the letter. And it was quite threatening, that if I didn't pay up, it was as if they had been writing for 3 years looking for it, which they hadn't. But all of a sudden I owed this money, and if I didn't pay up, that I'd be taken to court, I'd have to pay their solicitor's fees, and that I was going to contact them by letter. They wouldn't accept any phone calls. So I decided, okay, I'll pay the €5 and 8 cents, and they send a reminder every 6 months. So it probably costs them that much. Some girl has to type up the letter, or man.
And Kevin, do you know who owns? Who is the land?
I'd love to know.
You
Joe.
don't know.
I have no idea.
It could be Lord Lucan.
It could be Lord Lucan or some grandchild or something. But I did write the and then I wrote to the government, but I got no satisfaction. They said that ground rent had not been abolished. So I thought it was abolished.
No, it's abolished for new property.
Oh,
since 19...
my house was built. All right. Well, my house was built in 1939.
Well, it's from 1970, as John explained, 1978. Thanks, John. It was abolished for new property. Okay. Kevin, while I have you on, a great colleague of ours passed away.
Yes.
Helen Howard, her married name was Julie. And I really feel we should mention her name on national radio.
I'm glad you did, because she was a great friend of mine. I used to meet Helen and Jane Reid and Deirdre O'Grady. We used to go out every 2 months for dinner in town, because they kept in touch with me when I retired, you know.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And Helen was a great friend and great laugh. She had a dry sense of humour.
A great sense of humour. And as someone said to me yesterday, you'd meet her on the corridor. And she'd say something to you.
Yeah.
And it's only when you were halfway down the corridor you'd realise she was having a go at you. And I used to meet her every single day, sitting in the canteen with the legendary Larry Gogan, and the two of them were brilliant.
We used to have. I used to be in there with them too.
So
very, very funny girl. And it was so quick in the end.
Yeah.
I go into Vincent's every month for treatment.
Okay.
And she was 3 floors up from me. The last time I was in, I went up to see her briefly, because the girl was very, very ill. God love her.
Yeah,
and then I saw her once after that, 3 weeks before she died. We went out to Holt for lunch.
Wow.
And the poor girl was very weak at that stage. So I sort of felt the end was near.
And a young woman as well. So like yourself, Kevin, a great public servant, the essence of public service.
You, Joe. You're very kind.
Kevin, good to hear you. Good to hear your voice again, as I'm sure as recognisable as ever. Thanks indeed. And we were remembering there briefly one of our colleagues, Helen Howard, who died much too young, and people would know her also by her married name, Julie. God rest Helen.
Talk to Joe on 1850 715 815.